Is the girl ready to give up her hopes and dreams, her loves and hates, forever?
A Lannister and a Martell. They have no idea how dangerous that is.
She wants to drag our name through the dirt.
If war comes to Westeros, will the Knights of the Vale fight for their king?
Your Grace, I live to serve.
Welcome to What the Flick, Game of Thrones, Episode 6, Unbowed, Unbent, Unbroken, which is the...
House Martell's family words.
Of course it is. John, Matt, Ben, so... A very complicated, I feel like maybe potentially hugely significant episode. Parts of it, like the Arya and the house, blah, 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 like not significant. No, I just mean,
maybe not exciting necessarily.
Maybe not. Look, I don't know. I'm just
okay.
like right now.
I actually thought that Arya stuff was the more interesting stuff happening in the episode.
Right now, I don't care about that.
Okay.
At all. I may come back and care about that. I didn't dislike it. I'm not a hater. I didn't. I was over the weekend and talking about with a lot of Mad Men fans and some Game of Thrones fans, and they're always picking little things. I don't think that was good. Trust these people. Trust these people who are making this show that you love.
Yeah.
So.
That's what I said about Newsroom.
So how could Cersei possibly get away with this?
Take her.
Tommen!
Like it is. We've talked a lot on this show about how smart Cersei is, whether she's really Machiavellian enough to pull this off. She just arrested the queen, and her little defense of it, like, I didn't do it, I'm just sitting here. In fact, if you heard me, I objected to it, you know, right? Like no one's, like why won't Diana Rigg just say, not only am I not giving you money, I'm gonna give Stannis all this money right now.
That's exciting. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that. Well, yeah, because obviously she in the non-veiled threat of taking away the support. I like that line, by the way. What veil?
Oh,
that was a great one.
Right. Yeah,
I missed her. She was great.
As all great exchange.
Yeah, totally. So there was the threat to take away the support. Obviously, she had not even implied who she might provide it to. I think it's probably less likely at this point that she would support someone like Stannis, and more likely that they would just try to take over. I would assume.
But they don't. But they have to. If I'm correct in this, they don't really have much of a military. They would have to allow
the Tyrells.
Yeah.
They have a very significant
she says
military.
soldiers and money and food.
Yeah, they have a very
I thought that
significant
meant
military.
they're paying for the soldiers.
No, I mean I'm sure they're supporting the city watch with the money, but no, they have a very significant military.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, I mean it might be sort of a hostage situation, possibly. Like they're worried, like maybe Marjorie and Loras could be killed if they were to try some sort of coup or something like that. Like she doesn't necessarily know how much collaboration there is between the High Sparrow and Cersei.
She does. I think I disagree. I think she knows completely how much collaboration.
Well, but to your point,
she knows it. Yeah.
But to your point, part of why she hasn't immediately gone to that is that Loras is in custody, and Loras is the heir to House Martell. He's the next in line to run that house. Tyrell, sorry. Yeah. He's the heir to House Tyrell. He's next in line, so he is kind of a hostage. So she can't just say, fuck it, I'm out.
And in fact, presumably, the father, the buffoonish father, he may already be dead. And whether we see
nobody cares.
Whether we see
he went over to Braavos last week.
He went over to Braavos.
But he went over to Braavos with the King's Guard escort, who's clearly seems doing Cersei's,
that's true.
Doing Cersei's bidding. I don't think it bodes well. I mean, I'm sure that guy could win a fight.
Oh yeah, well, totally. He could take a few blows.
Yeah.
But you see Olenna and Marjorie talking, and they're clearly the ones who are running that house, right?
Totally.
And so, as far as the guy who's off in Braavos, they don't care what he's doing. He's kind of a non-issue.
Yeah.
Do we think? Sorry, go ahead.
Really fast. I think that Cersei has sort of a cunning to her, and she occasionally gets what she wants, as she did in the first season and in the conclusion of that. But I've always felt that she is too emotional and too petty, that however smart she is, it's undercut by her inability to control the excesses of her schemes. That she has to be obvious and biting in a way that undercuts your ability to manipulate people. And I think you can go too far. Like she she doesn't like the Tyrells. I get it, and she's jealous of Marjorie.
She doesn't like it. She's threatened by this.
Well, she's threatened,
she
but
knows she'll
she
ultimately
shouldn't
be marginalized.
But the other thing,
she says that she cares about her family. Her family is in a good spot with the Tyrells.
Right.
Her son is in a good spot. She's wrong to feel
Just
threatened.
be a powerful queen mother. Like that's not
Yeah.
that
but
bad.
here's the other thing
Right.
about
That's
Cersei.
not that bad. Yeah.
Cersei's got no long game. Like
Right,
she's
that's
only
right.
got the short game. She can only
She
deal with
reacts.
she only reacts and she only deals with what's right in
She's
front
going
of her.
episode to episode. It's a mistake.
She is, right? Whereas like Littlefinger's got schemes and Varys has schemes that they've been putting in place for decades before the show
possibly, yeah.
started, right?
So and to that point, don't you think that like Cersei is actually Littlefinger's clearly lying?
Let Stannis and Roose battle. Let the enemies of the throne slaughter each other, and when they're done, seize Winterfell from whichever thief survives.
I mean, obviously we know he's lying because he protected. But how would she? Like, she doesn't make any effort to like. How do you know this? How did you find this out? Like, there's no.
Why did it take this long?
Like, why did it take this long? I summoned you
Because she
You know,
wants-
why didn't you? Were you coming to tell me this?
Yeah,
because she
maybe
hears what
she's
she wants to hear.
Right. She hears what she
you
wants
got
to hear,
Sansa?
which is.
Oh, great.
But that's a George
And she
Bush.
reacts.
That's a huge
Yeah.
George Bush, Dick Cheney weakness that ultimately will.
So you're saying
that will
Cersei is
will bring
the
you down from power
George
when
W.
you're
Bush
term
of-
limited out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and also, I mean, as he points out to her, there's really, I mean, what does she have to lose by sending him up there with the Knights of the Vale to beat either Stannis or the Boltons? She doesn't care about Stannis or the Boltons, and she sort of thinks she can rely on Littlefinger, so I don't really think she does have
Do we
anything to
think
lose.
Littlefinger's plan with her, while he's not being honest to her about, it's weird, I just saw Sansa, like that part's not honest.
He
But
gets
do
a
we think-
scroll. Sansa, what do you
But
know?
do we think that is what he wants, that he would take the Knights of the Vale to the north and defeat the conquering army there and be named Ward of the North? I don't. I don't think that I don't think he would ever make the mistake of completely aligning with a Tywin-less Lannister family.
Yeah.
I don't. My hunch is he's like, yeah, I need you to send, and then I'm going to broker some deal, and I'm going to give that army over to whoever that is, and they'll make me Ward of the. I don't know, but why does he need to tell Cersei?
I think it's interesting
Although he
with
was summoned.
I think it's interesting with Peter Baelish because he sets up something that's really too good to be true. And if Cersei had half a brain, she'd realize that he's sitting there telling her everything she wants to hear. It's like, yeah, you know what? I'll go up to the north. I'll wait for these two armies to wipe each other out. I'll clean it up. You got nothing to worry about because even if it goes south, you'll be fine because then no Lannister soldiers are in trouble. You don't have to spend a dime. You don't have to spend any people or any money. I'll take care of it. And if I don't, you're not out anything. And as opposed to Lady Olenna, who'd be like, oh, wait a minute.
Right.
Why are you doing this?
Right, why are you doing
Cersei never says, well, why are you doing this, right? And so I think with Littlefinger, he thrives on that chaos, and
yeah.
there's a huge opportunity.
But also, we also have to remember that, like, from that early season 1, I think, Varys, Mayor of Baltimore conversation in the throne room, like, he doesn't want to be Ward of the North.
And
Like he wants.
Well, he wants more than
he
that.
wants more
obviously.
than. He wants
and if
more
you had
than,
to choose between that and running the Vale, you would choose the Vale. And it's interesting that
That's
he no
why-
longer.
why? 'Cause
No,
it's-
I think you'd choose Warden of the
Really?
North. Yeah, that's
It's
a bigger position.
It's freezing up there.
Right, but I think that's
Freezing.
it's a rung on the ladder to getting where he wants.
Yeah,
to, right?
that's a
He's-
possibility.
I think
you
the
know,
other thing
from
he's doing-
Baltimore. Keep that in mind. He knows
I think
cold.
the other thing Littlefinger's doing is that as he's letting what he's saying is going to be Stannis' army and Bolton's army fight each other out. He's got an ally in Winterfell right now, and I think that he's going to be playing right. But I think he's
the extent that she can
he's
do
at
anything.
least. I think his one weak spot, Littlefinger's weak spot, is Sansa. And
Oh, so you think he would not be willing to let her die? That he was actually just lying?
I don't see how a guy who turns a woman over to
Ramsay Bolton.
and then leaves town as a woman.
Right, but
who
he
is-
doesn't know who Ramsay is. He doesn't know anything about Ramsay. He said he doesn't know anything about Ramsay. It's
true.
He doesn't know
He's
what
never
we as
gotten any
viewers know.
intelligence out of
True,
that
but
castle.
They very
He's gotta have gotten
specifically
something.
gave us that line, though.
Right.
He doesn't know anything about him, so he doesn't. He thinks it's it's a Bolton. He's probably a bad
Right,
dude.
and he's
but-
also said to Sansa that she's going to have to play the game on her own, but he's confident that she can. Right, so he's got. I think that's his one weak spot is her.
No.
Maybe it would be nice because it would be a little humanity. I mean, and look, ultimately, we don't need to George W. Bush, Vladimir Putin it and act like you can see into his heart. He did save her. she would have been killed after Joffrey's death, no question. He has saved her a number of times. So whatever his ultimate, the big plan, whatever his little machinations are, he has helped her unquestionably, and he got her home. And then and although it didn't, this episode did not end well for her.
No.
Jesus.
You've known Sansa since she was a girl. Now watch her become a woman.
My God, what a creative way to shoot that scene, I thought, to have us on instead of seeing it, which we, of course...
Well, yeah, you don't want to...
I mean, see any part of it, even see her, instead of seeing her face, which that could be done, you could see her face and her anguish. But hearing her and seeing Theon was, I thought, incredibly effective. Did you think he might do anything? I thought he was. I thought we might get the scene where all of a sudden Ramsay's like, and the blood comes out and there's a peck in the back of his head.
I thought that there was a possibility in the earlier scene when she refuses to take his arm, they do a close-up to his face, and I thought he was considering, like, you are so disgusted by me because you think that I killed your brothers. Like, at some point, he has to release that information because he desperately wants to be absolved of some of his sins. Like, he is a nothing, and he can get some of it back if he just reveals the truth.
Right, and as I've said, I think on this a couple of times, like, I think clearly we are massively building. We cannot go any farther, in fact. We are at the maximum point, the breaking point of Theon. He is either going to, I thought, be a spy, because he's been listening. I think he's going to be a spy. I think he's going to tell her. And there is a brief, if you haven't seen if you don't watch the coming up next, stop listening for 10 seconds. But there was a suggestion of an authentic communication between Sansa and Theon. Which suggests,
they kind of need each other.
Which might, and it's breaking point. He's got to say, I killed 2 innocent boys, but not your brothers. Or maybe those kids were already dead, and that would be the best outcome. He's like, no, I just took 2 dead kids and then we burned them. And I didn't, and I don't know where your brothers are, but I would never have killed your brothers. They're like my brothers. But I had to do something.
I actually, maybe I'm naive. I actually thought that Ramsay would, at the very least, hold off on abusing Sansa. I don't know why I believed when he said, I will never hurt her. But it seemed like maybe just for the purposes of, like, they need Sansa, to get the North to sort of respect them. Like, if she gets killed or something.
Now he's got her. Now he can do whatever.
Yeah, but if she dies, then I don't think the North is going to be like, they had a good month or two.
I will say
I don't think he's going to kill her.
The way that scene went down really bothers me and doesn't sit right with me, and I think it's a mistake in the writing.
Oh, really? How come?
Yeah, I think that they've continued to rob Sansa of any agency that she has as a person. Like, she's still just reactive, and I think we had seen steps towards her kind of taking as much as she could, a bit of ownership in her life. I think that we've seen her be abused enough, and I don't know that it does anything to drive the story for any of those characters. Like that scene goes down. We already know Ramsay's a monster, right? We've seen him do worse and more to other characters already. I think that we've seen terrible shit happen to Sansa. We are very off book where we're going with these characters, and I honestly think this whole end scene was kind of unnecessary, and it kind of bothers me.
I think that there have certainly been some terrible things that have happened directly to her, but I feel like in comparison to most of the rest of the cast over the course of all these seasons, she generally has had to be around terrible things, like seeing her family die, being married off to someone. Like, that could have gone much worse. Like, she was beaten and she was humiliated by Joffrey, but in comparison to some of the people, especially in that room with her, like, Theon's genitals were cut off, his body was flayed to pieces. Like, I think that she has had a bad situation, obviously, but in terms of direct harm to her, I think that so far she's gotten off, up until today, lightly compared to others.
Like, in a sense, this is the, this would be the moment of, this is you're right, in a sense, she should already know this, but this world is as terrible as you could possibly imagine it is, and you have to step up.
I guess
because we've seen that she's capable of it. You're right, we have. But I think now, I will agree with you, depending on her response to this, which I'm obviously now
I guess my point is the way this scene goes down is different than the way it goes in the books. This is not an issue between these characters in the books, and her storyline, as the way George R.R. Martin has written, is in a different direction. And the way this goes down, I feel like this is a conscious decision on behalf of the writers to do this to this character, and I don't agree with it. And it just, I think it's unnecessary. I think that there was.
But how would? But I mean, if they get him, then ultimately it's going to be that your objection is that they got married, because there's no way Ramsay is not going to behave this way once he's got her.
I actually think in comparison to the book storyline, like we're not going to go into much detail about that because that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
She has no real agency there. She's purely waiting for something to happen. Whereas here, she was told by Peter Baelish, like, you don't have to do this. And she chose to do it. That's her exercising her agency. If nothing bad happened to her, then that was a pretty easy choice, I guess, in hindsight. Like, she went in there knowing bad things would happen, bad things are going to happen. This is her exercising her agency. She was willing to put herself at risk to accomplish something larger. Bad things are happening, but she's still working towards the goal that she put herself in there for.
I see what you guys are. I understand what you're talking about. I feel like this particular scene, it's just cliched and it's obvious and it's unnecessary. I think that we've seen a lot of smarter writing out of this show. Over the course of 4 or 5 years, we've seen smarter writing in a lot of places. And I feel like, we set this up and it's kind of expected, but do they have to give us the thing that everybody expects? I don't know. I'm a little disappointed in this scene.
I hear you, and it's valid. It's a totally valid point. I think what makes it interesting is naturally the thing that I've been talking about.
Right.
I think but I think that it's really about an interesting. Remember, I thought it was creative how they shot it, but let's think about how they shot it. This is about Theon. So like and maybe this is the act of such barbarism.
Exactly.
It pushes Theon to be like, okay, your brothers are alive. We can stop having these conversations, which I love, which is, the only surviving Stark daughter, the only surviving Stark child, and you're like,
yeah, there's actually so many.
There's
too many.
There's too many Starks.
No, and I get it. Like, this is enough of a thing. This is enough of an event that maybe it's going to break Theon back the other way after Ramsay had already broken him. I understand that. I don't agree with it.
Well, we'll see next week. But anyway, it was certainly, I don't know, it was powerful. And after an episode of no violence, of no sort of, no barbarism, it was sort of, we spent half the episode with Arya in the head.
No violence. What about the whole sword fight scene, the whole battle in Dorne?
When you were whole, it would have been a good fight.
I choose to forget about that entire
That's
scene.
no violence?
No, nobody got hurt. It was that was like.
But he got cut.
It was like Scaramouche.
He got cut, and that's going to come back.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, actually.
Remember who cut him?
Wait, who cut him?
So as
Bronn got cut.
Bronn got cut by one of the sand snakes. And guess who else put poison on there?
They tend to like using poisons, I guess. I didn't think about that.
Oberyn Martell used the Red Viper, had a poison spear, and those are his daughters.
Yeah.
It's possible. I think she used her dagger, but she still could have poisoned
Here's the thing. They're not going to focus and make a big show of him getting cut on the arm if that's not going to mean something.
100%. That's totally true. So I completely forgot. I'd forgotten.
God damn it.
Come on.
It doesn't take effect right away, I guess?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see, yeah.
It's Chekhov's gun. Come on. That'll come up later.
Yeah.
Yeah, really fast, since we're talking about that. So someone in one of the reviews, they referred to that entire arc, or this episode of that arc, as a lost episode of Hercules.
Yeah.
It felt cheap somehow.
It did.
I don't know why, but even the fight scene, it was like this is not a good fight scene.
No, it's not a good fight scene.
Choreographed
well. Or it was over choreographed. It was like
it looked fake.
It looked
in
fake.
a way that it normally does
also,
not.
the plan for both of these people were to go get the Lannister kid, whatever her name is, right? To go get her. She's always in the water garden, like always in the water garden. Does she sleep there? Is all she does
She likes the water.
So they're both going to get her in the water garden. They both happen to make this decision
at the same time.
They both arrive literally at the same time,
and both in the middle of the day.
Right.
The best kidnapping time, in my opinion.
While literally the leader of Dorne is just sits in his wheelchair over the flower garden. I mean, and my
not a very good plan.
My wife was like, "This is stupid." It
didn't feel right.
And I think that's what we all sensed a little of the same thing. Like, huh? And now, obviously, it was whatever. It's orchestrated to get Jaime into custody, and I assume there are going to be super interesting conversations that are about to happen between the prince and Jaime. But it was not. That was my weak moment in this episode.
Yeah, those were, that and the final scene, like those are the two parts of this episode that I wasn't that wild about the stuff that was going down here. Like I liked the storyline we got with Arya, and I kind of liked the things that were happening with Jorah and Tyrion, and that whole conversation about dwarf cock was hilarious, and I love the concept that there's a cock merchant.
And then chop off his cock. We'll sell it for a fortune. The dwarf's cock has magic powers.
Wait! You can't just hand a dried cock to a merchant and expect him to pay for it.
That there is a business of being cock merchants.
That everybody knows about.
Right. I've been wondering this whole time when they're going to finally bring up the possibility of a cock merchant.
Say,
like 5 years.
You want to be like, hey, 4.5 seasons. You guys we haven't met one cock merchant?
Right.
Yeah.
I just love that there's like, you know how cock merchants act? Oh, yeah. All the guys are like, oh, yeah, okay. So, like, there's a whole business there, right? Like, there's a whole industry. It's not just there's one cock merchant.
No, right. They don't need to go to the cock merchant.
They don't go to the
They're going to go to the cock merchant district.
Right, exactly.
I hope that eventually they get into some of the regional distinctions between cock merchants. Have you ever dealt with a Dornish cock merchant?
Well, that's fake.
They're hard asses.
Yeah, hard ass.
It also produced one of the best lines of possibly the entire series.
Unless he sees the dwarf.
It will be a dwarf-sized cock.
Guess again.
Guess again.
Guess again.
Come on.
That was great. Also, Baelish's line to Cersei. The choices about lovers we take. What did he say?
One's choice of companion is a curious thing.
You just get curious. The choices who we lie with them.
Yeah.
There's that.
Which is a bold move.
Yeah, she got insulted a couple. So yeah. Now the great thing about Game of Thrones is that when the slavers come up to Tyrion, I have that moment of, they might kill him.
Wait!
Like they could
there's
be
the possibility.
this quick and this nothing. There's no suspense, no nothing, and all of a sudden, okay, that's the end of Peter Dinklage.
That would be unfortunate.
That would have been unfortunate. So I had a real panic. I was like, whoa, say something. But even what he said, and our executive producer Amir said this, even what he said seemed like he started a little too late. I'm like, that guy had the knife out, it was here, and then he, like there was almost no time for him to get in.
Like, it's your line, dude. It's your line.
Right.
It's your line. It's your line.
The guy's right. Give me my line.
I like that, though, because this isn't the newsroom. Like, he's really smart, but he's not supernaturally smart. It takes him a little bit too long.
That's true.
There are a lot of reasons to like the show for not being the newsroom. Let's be clear.
Still like the newsroom. Yeah.
So, so there were, I mean, I guess what have there been? There have been 4 seasons and 6 episodes. So this is episode 46, right, of the show, right? Yeah, this is
We're in season 5, aren't we?
We're in season 5, so this will be 50 at the end, right? So this is 46. So, yeah, this is in the bottom 6.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This is
episodes?
Yeah, episodes. Yeah, because not because of any specific thing that happened. I have no problem that I think it's a really interesting point you make, but I want to see where they go with that. But things felt a little false, and that sword fight that whole thing was particularly.
Well, it would be like if I did a sword fight with their equipment. It just wouldn't be right. It doesn't matter if you have great cameras and great lighting and everything. It felt a little bit off, like it was edited poorly, or
and
I think I have filmed sword fights in the past.
Some of the stuff we're complaining about, or at least that we're talking about, and I think where we think are some of the weaker elements, are things that are much different than the way the book story has gone.
Totally, yeah.
And what I'm concerned about is, as the writers, as the show writers, have to kind of blaze their own trail and write their own story, I'm a little worried about.
Aren't they working with him on that?
Sort of. Yes and no, right? Because they made changes early on that have these magnified effects later on in the story. Mm-hmm. And I think that just by the nature of what they're doing on TV, they have to go in different directions, and they have to, they have put Jaime in places he's not in. They put Sansa in places. And I'm a little worried that we're going to see something different that may not work as well. I have less faith in them as writers than I do in Martin as a writer. And so
wasn't this the first? This is the first episode this season that I've had any issue with at all. So I don't.
Yeah, me too. In terms
right, but one bad one and it all goes south.
Yeah.
It's done.
So real quick, you guys got to fill me in. And we got to wrap this one up a little quickly. But what's with the heads?
So all I will say is, remember when we first saw, what's his name, the Jaqen H'ghar, right? And he suddenly changed his face in the last scene we got.
So they kill these people, and then those they become those faces are all options. They're all in the library.
It's a library.
Right, that's right.
That's exactly what it is.
Which is interesting. And also, one of the cool things I think for readers of the books is in some of the scenes or some of the storylines in this episode, actually, we have moved past material in the books.
And so
not just Divergent, we're past whatever they would have been at in the books.
So now what's happening with Arya seems so completely removed from anything else.
It does. I think that in the next episode or two, I think it will cross over. I can see the beginnings of some ways that it could cross over, and it has felt very disconnected for a very long time. Like they met up with Brienne, her and the Hound, and that was great. We skipped over that, by the way. Him forcing her to sort of understand that she did not hate the Hound.
No, that was a great. That was a great scene, and all knowing her lies, and she was, I hated him. No, she liked him.
I think it's going to cross over.
I mean, I'm sure it will, but it does. Right now, it feels removed. Okay, Cersei massively overplayed her hand. She can't just lock the queen and the queen's brother up and do this to Diana Rigg and possibly get away with it. And Tommen I guess he's incapable, but he's in a spot.
He can't do anything.
I mean, the thing to keep in mind about with Cersei and the storyline with the upcoming trial is, they dug up that guy who had been sleeping with Loras, right? Well, guess who else is also working for the High Sparrow?
Yeah. He seems to have forgotten his own sins,
Lannister.
I guess.
Oh, right.
Lancel, who had been sleeping with Cersei.
Oh, right.
Right? And they made a point of continuing to show us Lancel in this season, right? They brought him back.
He's
keep
not
showing him.
We're not done with him.
Presumably, it might be that when you become initiated into the faith militant, like your sins are absolved or something like that. They certainly seem to think their sins have been absolved.
It's they're scary, and I like that they're here because I'm scared of them.
Yeah, Jonathan Pryce is so good.
He's great.
So good.
He's great. The world is not enough. By the way, I just remembered, which is super interesting, to wrap this up, my Uncle Meyer was a cock merchant. In the old country. Yeah. All right, guys, 4 more episodes left this year. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around. Some of us will be back next week to talk about episode 7. Thanks.